Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them. And just to get this out of the way, I am a bit under the weather today. I woke up, I was super sick, sore throat, coughing, sneezing, congestion, all that kind of stuff, right? So I actually wasn't even able to make it into work today, which I don't like missing work, especially on the day where we do the pools and all that stuff. So major shout out to my boy Nate for making sure that I got all the books that I needed to get to read. So I've spent some time reading, and I didn't want to delay this video because I know a lot of people wait on it. So bear with me. We're just going to do it. We're just going to do it, and we're just going to see what happens. So here we go. All right. So we always start with the pick of the week. And this week's pick of the week is The City Beneath Her Feet, issue number 1 from Distillery. And I don't want to be hyperbolic or anything like that, but I will definitely say this. This is the best Distillery comic I have read so far. This book was incredibly impressive to me. It's written by James Tynion IV with artwork by Elsa Chartier, and Jordi Belair on the coloring, Aditya Bidikar on the lettering. This is a top-notch creative team, and it produces a top-notch quality book. Now, a lot of people out there, I know, they're not really down for magazine format, plus-size, $10 comic books and stuff. I'm telling you this is going to be worth it. And if you want to wait, make it a little bit more affordable when you get a nice hardcover for $30 or something. But this book is amazing. Let's talk about the story. Story is about this woman. She is a writer struggling for her next project. Tynion writes a lot of writers. I guess you write what you know, right? But she's struggling for with a bit of writer's block. She doesn't know what to do, right? She's like, nothing interesting happens in my life. Then this woman shows up who is incredibly charming, very beautiful, very mysterious, and somehow involved in some kind of something that's not really fully explained yet, but she winds up intersecting her life into the main character's life, right? And what happens then is they kind of make this connection, and every few weeks or whatever, this woman comes back into her life until all of a sudden there's a framing device here. It works so freaking well. And even though we haven't really gotten super meaty into the story, this really is a perfect setup. And the artwork is so freaking exceptional. Elsa does a great job with the line work. Jordi does an amazing job with the coloring. I think this might be some of the best Jordi Belair colors I've ever seen. Now, she's utilizing a technique that I know she's been using in Birds of Prey, but there's something about maybe this paper stock, maybe it's the line work from Elsa Chartier, or whatever, however you pronounce that. It's freaking awesome. This book is amazing. It's sexy, it's fun, it's whimsical, it's got charm, it's got mystery, it's got great, truly engaging characters, and by the time you get to the end of this book, you are so fully bought in on what is going on. You just have to come back for issue 2 to find out where it's going to go. I thought this book was phenomenal. I loved it. Seriously, a freaking fantastic book. The City Beneath Her Feet, issue number 1. That's the pick of the week. Let's jump over to DC, which has the runner-up for the pick of the week, which is Batman Dark Patterns, issue number 1. This is written by Dan Watters with artwork by Hayden Sherman. We got Triona Farrell, I believe, on the coloring. Yes, and Frank Zetkovic on the lettering. I really love this book. This is I believe it's the start of I want to say it's a 10 or a 12 issue miniseries or something like that. It's set in Batman's 3rd year. It's a murder mystery with a new villain that is somehow based in medical history, right? Dan Watters is really pulling out all the stops there with some really interesting ideas to come up with a new foe that is as eccentric and quirky and recognizable as some of Batman's other villains, but also something that is very interesting. I really like that. But what really sets this book over the top is the artwork. The artwork is absolutely insane. It's Hayden Sherman. Hayden Sherman, they've been working on Absolute Wonder Woman. I'm such a fan of their work, have been since Cold War, Wasted Space, Thumbs, The Few. Hayden always changes the style to appropriate what is the tone of the book, and this is intricate, big, explosive, detailed, amazing work, right? And it's very firmly set in the early days of Batman. He hasn't quite gotten everything figured out yet, and him and Gordon come across a murder scene where somebody's been putting all these pins and needles in somebody to like cause the most excruciating amount of pain. And when you get to the reveal of who the villain is, it's just something that only Dan Watters can do. It's sick, it's twisted, and at the core, it is rooted in Gotham and Batman mythology and lore, and I loved it. You can jump right in here if you haven't been following Batman, who cares? If you haven't read a lot of Batman, who cares? You can jump in right here. This is a place to read a great, solid Batman mystery from the ground up. Then we got the Superwoman Special Issue number 1. This is written by Joshua Williamson. Who is the artist? The artist is Edwin Galamon, Laura Braga, and Nicola, oh, I always mess up his name, Nicola Zezmeshimbaja. I'm sick, so that's my excuse today. This is pretty interesting. This is the story of how Lois Lane got superpowers, right? Now, obviously, it's connected to the Absolute Power finale where all the Amazo robots that Amanda Waller had, she had like her own Justice League of Amazo robots. They stole all the powers from all the superpowered individuals in the DC universe, and when those powers got released back to their rightful owners, some of them didn't wind up with their rightful owners. But whose powers does Lois have? She's got Superman's powers, but Superman's got his powers. Power Girl's got her powers. Supergirl's got her powers. Yo, what's going on? When you find out at the end of this book what's going on, it is a really intriguing setup. Josh Williamson's doing the impossible. He's making me actually love the idea of Lois Lane being Superwoman. This is something to me that really truly only works in like an Elseworlds type story or something. I don't really like the idea of like everybody in Superman's life's gotta have superpowers. Everybody in Flash's life's gotta have superpowers. But Josh Williamson knows what he's doing, and he's playing with it really interestingly here. And this is mostly just a simple story of just telling us how this all came to be. But that big reveal at the end, I was excited for that. Then we got Action Comics here with 1079. This is the 10th part of the weekly Phantom story by Mark Waid and a plethora of artists. I've been digging this story. I think it's really cool. I was criticizing this book when it first kind of came into the DC All-In era because it was weekly. And I will stand by this. This book being weekly has affected the sales, at least in my comic shop. And my shop is a microcosm of the macrocosm of the comic book community, right? Because I've been hearing the same things from other retailers and other reviewers and other readers, right? Retailers, reviewers, and readers. The triple R, you added Rockin' Robbie, you got the quintuple R right there. Action Comics 1079, though, everything's coming to a head. The story is really reaching its conclusion. But even though I was criticizing this book for being weekly, I'm glad it was weekly because this is all set before some of the events currently going on in the All-In section of the DC Universe. And this book needs to be in and out. You know, it needs to come and get the job done and be done, right? It's going to make a great trade paperback read for a lot of people. I've enjoyed it. I thought it's been cool. It's been a little bit up and down, inconsistent with the artwork. There's a different artist like every single issue, it feels like nowadays. But I like it. I like the way it's vibing out. If you've been digging it, you're going to like it. All right, so we got Green Lantern is here with issue number 18. This is a big wrap-up to Jeremy Adams's like big whole story that he's been doing, right? The United Planets, they're corrupted by their evil leader. He's creating these new lanterns. He's doing this. He's trying to kill. It all has built up to this. And what this issue does is a great job of wrapping all of that up, but at the same time also using that as an excuse to really push forward where this story is going to go. So it's got some exciting setups, but it's also got some very satisfying conclusions. Jeremy Adams has been doing a very consistent job on Green Lantern, and Germanico on the artwork. It's been freaking cool, and the Green Lantern world is in safe hands. And the cover of the week, it's got a tie. It's the 2 variant covers by Mark Spears for Green Lantern, issue number 18, connecting covers. Look at that. Davey, you looking? He didn't use a lot of blue there. Mark, I see that you didn't use a lot of blue. Davey's proud of you. But more than anything, I'm proud of you for just being a published comic book artist. Davey can go suck it, if you know what I'm saying. But that's absolutely fantastic work from Mark Spears, my homie. Then we got Batman and Robin, issue number 16. I'm going to be honest, this book's kind of waning on me just a little bit. I enjoy it. I think it's cool. But some of the work being done with the relationship between Bruce and Damian, it's been done before, and it feels like we're retreading some kind of ground here. But I do like this story. I like this new villain. I like this new mystery. But honestly, as I'm sitting here talking to you in my sick fog, it's hard for me to remember what the hell's actually going on in the book. So Batman and Robin, it's aight. It's aight, but it ain't what it used to be. Then we got Black Lightning here with issue number 2. This book's just not working for me. I really tried on issue number 1. Almost didn't come back for issue number 2, but I did, and I'm just not digging it. It's Black Lightning and his daughters. They're trying to figure out what's going on with these powers that are all messed up now, post-absolute power. One of Jefferson's daughters is I think it's Thunder. Yeah, Thunder. Her powers are kind of messed up. They're trying to figure that out. It's plugged in. I appreciate that, but all in all, it doesn't really do much for me. But I do think Ossio's artwork is pretty dynamic, but it just feels a little bit cluttered for some reason, which is not something I typically don't like about his work. Then we got Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns, issue number 3. Not Kev. Well, what's his name? I just had him on the show. What's his name? Jeff Parker. Jeff Parker is back doing a sequel to Batman Silent Night, which was a team-up between Batman, the Bat Family, and Santa Claus. Batman, Superman, and a few others, they've been whisked away by this Silent Night character. Santa Claus has to show up and join up with the rest of the DC Universe and try to, like help them out. I like this book. It's fun. It's a nice, charming, holiday treat, if you will. This one's not hitting quite as fun as the last one, the first volume, which came out last year. Trade paperback out to recently. Whew. Okay, let's get our head on straight. But this book was all right, but it's not as good as the one before. All right, then we've got DC versus Vampires, World War V, issue number 5. A big reveal has happened. We find out that the queen vampire is not completely, rumors of her demise have been greatly exaggerated. But I love the dynamic going on here, right? Where you have the humans and the vampires have made this truce, but then you got Damian in the middle, who is a vampire who's trying to mess up their truce by killing these vampires because he's trying to do what's right. Some interesting bits here in this issue, but I never finished the original volume, and now I'm finding myself in issue number 5 kind of getting a little dulled out while reading the book, just a little bit bored. Seems like there's a lot of talking, not a lot of doing. Maybe they'll shake that up. Let's jump over to Marvel. Before I get too sweaty here, we got Ultimate Universe 1 year in, issue number 1. This is a big celebratory issue, written by Dennis Camp, who's the writer of Ultimates right now. This is a story about the ultimate Nick Fury and trying to take a stand against the Maker's Council, right? So it's a really cool book that will give you a little bit more of information about this council, who they are, and in case you forgot, kind of to refresh you on who everybody is on this council, what territory they represent, what their whole purpose is, and Nick Fury is running not S.H.I.E.L.D. in this world, but a different organization, and I really like it. Some really cool ideas here. Plus, there's a story in the back by Chris Condon, and I think Alessandro Capicchio, that introduces the new Ultimate Wolverine. So, pretty interesting stuff, a very cool cover. I don't have a smell of the week this week, y'all. I'm sorry, I can't smell shit, so we'll figure that out at a later date. Ultimate X-Men here. It's issue number 10. I'm loving this book. I know this book has required a level of patience. It has really been a slow burn. It is not your typical X book, not with typical characters that you typically are used to seeing, and I can say typical one more time until I have to move on. But Ultimate X-Men issue number 10 was a really solid book. Everything is really ramping up to another level here, and to me, I think the payoff is worth it. It's really building up. It's building up in a, I think, a really interesting fashion, and I love some of the... Now, Peach Momoko has like horror roots, right? I'm not saying this book is a horror book or that it's truly horrific, but what I am saying is that it's like a light version of Momoko horror in the Ultimate Marvel Universe. And I think that's pretty cool. Then we got Laura Kinney, Wolverine, issue number 1. Oh man, did anybody... I hope somebody got that snot bubble pop out like that. Laura Kinney, Wolverine issue number 1. This one was all right. I thought it was okay. Like, I was excited to read it. I love the character of Laura. X-23, a.k.a. Wolverine, a.k.a. Laura Kinney. Laura Kinney. It's Kinney, right? It's totally Kinney. Is it Kinney? Is it Kynian? Kynan? Anyway, this Wolverine book, it's all right. Like, so she finds out through a random sequence of events about a mutant who needs help. She goes out to help him. It seems like that's what this book's going to be about. It's all right. Didn't really do much for me. It's, I don't know, NYX is a book I kind of quit reading. She's like tied into that book. It starts there, and then she goes into her own solo adventure. But it just, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. And right now I just can't seem to formulate why. Same thing with this one, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue number 1. So this is a tie-in, a prequel to an upcoming animated series. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. And I don't know if I'll like this animated series based on what we get in this book, because it seems like Peter gets bitten by the spider after he loses Uncle Ben. Maybe it's intentionally trying to be set like in the early days of the MCU Spider-Man, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. To be honest, I've been a bad pop culture philosopher, and I have no clue what this series is going to be. The animated series that this is a prequel to. But it just seems like that responsibility, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. Alien Paradiso, issue number 1. Just didn't work for me either. I'll tell you why this one didn't work for me. Story was dumb. Art was not very good. It felt rushed. It felt put together. It felt like, shit, we got to do another Alien book or we're going to lose those rights. Well, they're not going to lose the rights, right? Because I guess Marvel, owned by Disney. Disney owns 20th Century properties. They own Alien. So they're not going to lose the rights unless they want to. But it still feels like somebody at Marvel's like, shit, we got to do an Alien book. This was really sophomoric, in my opinion. And that's I think, being kind. Then we got Amazing Spider-Man issue 63. This is the third part of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, and we already have a new writer and a new artist. All right. I know that Joe Kelly was intending on doing this kind of like a writer's room approach to this story. Spider-Man's done this before, and Joe Kelly was involved along with Mark Waid and a bunch of other writers back in the Brand New Day era, and that was cool. And each writer kind of... They had basically a writer's room and a bunch of artists, and they would like get together and they would pound out like what the stories were going to be, and then they like would work on those stories. And this one's, it was all right. This has been the weakest issue so far of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's got some decent stuff. The art's actually fine. I'll tell you what, Gleb McKelnoff draws a super sexy ass Black Cat. I'll tell you that. Also, really draws this new Doom-inspired Spider-Man armor pretty decently, too. But, you know, they only gave him a new costume so they could sell more toys. Y'all know that, right? I mean, is that a secret? Y'all know that. Anyway, this was the weakest issue of the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man thing so far, and I am still enjoying it, but it's kind of like repeating itself, if that makes sense. Then we got the Uncanny X-Men here with issue number 7. This book's alright. It's alright. I've been loving the Uncanny X-Men. David Marquez is still here on the artwork, but I believe that there's like, yeah, there's a different artist. So the art gets a bit inconsistent where it switches back and forth. This is the crossover with X-Men. It retreads a lot of the ground that was already done in that last issue of X-Men. So if you didn't read that, if you're only reading Uncanny, you really don't need to. You'll just fall right along in. Like they repeat some of the same bits, but then they extend it a little bit further. But Uncanny X-Men to me is, out of all the X books, the one that feels like an X-Men book. And I really like it. And I don't necessarily like that so quickly they've gone into this crossover thing. But it's still working, and at least it works on its own. But it's only a 4-part thing, so it's only going to be like a month long, because these books are like basically 18 times a year, both of them, X-Men and Uncanny. But I like what Gail Simone's been building here, so that continues. Then we got Storm here with issue number 3. Another great issue of Storm. I didn't think I was going to like this solo Storm book so much, but I really, really do. Storm, she's looking bad to the world right now. She finds out that she might be dying. She's got to go to Brother Voodoo to help fix it. Part of that fixing is going to be her not having her powers for like a week or something like that. That leads to a really intense confrontation with Wolverine. Some interesting things happen here that I cannot wait to really talk about with people, but I'm sequestered at home right now, just sweating and coughing and sneezing and reading comics and standing in front of a camera and talking about them. Storm's awesome. Storm's pretty good. Then we got Deadpool team up here, issue number 4, the penultimate issue of Rob Liefeld over at Marvel, allegedly. We'll see what happens. Major X is back. This book do what Rob Liefeld do, which is just big, ridiculous, exciting action. If you're a Rob Liefeld fan, you're going to love it. If you are not a Rob Liefeld fan, you're going to hate it. If you're in the middle, I don't know what it's going to do. I don't think this is the book that's going to turn you into a Rob Liefeld fan. Honestly, I think New Mutants, Shadowhawk number 0, those are your best bets. Maybe Youngblood number 6. Those are your best bets to become a Rob Liefeld fan. Let me take a quick break and then we'll get into Image. All right, everybody, and from Image Comics, we have Doll Parts, A Lovesick Tale, issue number 1. I believe this is just a 2-part series, but it is set, I guess, in the world of Lovesick, or at least in the thematic vein of Lovesick, which was a book by Luana Vicio, which was absolutely phenomenal. I love that book. It was gross, disturbing, gnarly, sexy. It was awesome. It was like right up my alley. Not a book for everyone. This one, though, doesn't really veer into the sexy territory, but it really does still develop some ideas about... It's about this young woman who's part of a dance school, and there's like this creepy dude out there like beating it off in front of the kids, and then one of the girls in the dance school gets murdered, and she starts finding something appealing about aspects of death and sex. And I mean, that's kind of what Lovesick was about, right? And so it's dealing with that, but with a younger person in a very interesting way. It's not like provocative. It's not like titillating. It's not like trying to be sexy. It's trying to like unnerve you, right? The last book, the proper Lovesick series, was also trying to unnerve you, but at the same time was slightly appealing. This one, though, is a little bit different of a tone, but kind of in that same vein. I loved it. Artwork was great. Story was great. Really cool stuff here. This was an excellent book, and if you liked the original Lovesick, you're going to love this, even though it is a little bit of a different kind of vibe. I think you'll check it out. And then Transformers issue number 15. I love this book. I love this book. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I can't really piece my thoughts together so well tonight, as you have determined, I'm sure, already. So I'm sorry. I should have just probably waited to do this. But Transformers number 15 was great. Jorge Corona is back on the artwork. It is slam bang fantastic, dynamic, gritty, rough, and textured. But it's also anchored still in that tragic sense of what war does to a soldier, and then even sometimes when a soldier has to question, am I doing the right thing, even trying to protect these people? There are some big moments here too. Some new characters get introduced. I would say new characters. I mean, new if you're reading the book for the first time. It's great. It's great. You got Soundwave doing what he's doing. You got Starscream doing what he's doing. You got Optimus and the rest of the Autobots. They're trying to do what they do. It is just awesome. I love this book. It's been fantastic for 15 issues now. No signs of slowing down. All right. Diamond has been wonky lately because they're doing this thing where they're consolidating a warehouse, right? And it's affected our shipments at the shop a lot. In fact, we didn't get any of our Diamond books last week. So that's like Dynamite and Boom and a few others, right? So I do have some books that came out last week to chat about, including Thundercats Apex issue number 1. This is a one-shot comic written by Ed Brisson with artwork by Rafa Labosco, which the artwork here is amazing. So Apex is a new character that has been recently introduced into the pages of Thundercats. This is telling you exactly who this dude is, and it does so in excellent fashion. Ed Brisson is so amazingly tight with his script. It's got a great flow. It's got this Western kind of vibe and feel. And yes, you do get the full identity of Apex revealed here, and it is awesome. This book really shocked me, and out of all the Thundercats stuff that Dynamite has done so far, this is by far my favorite. And it's got a Mark Spears cover. So that's pretty freaking cool. This week from Dynamite, we got Space Ghost issue number 8. Another fantastic issue of Space Ghost. David Pepose really knows what he's doing, taking a character that is rooted in so much tradition and history, whether it's the original Hanna-Barbera show or whether it's the Adult Swim stuff, right? The Space Ghost Coast to Coast. There's a whole generation of fans that only know Space Ghost as Coast to Coast, right? And this is putting the weight and the gravity back into the concept of Space Ghost, even more so than that original series. This is great. Even if you've never watched any Space Ghost anything, whether even Coast to Coast or the original, it doesn't matter. This is a great superhero comic book, just flat out. Here we dive more into the origins of who Space Ghost is and what motivates him, and we do it in epic and tragic fashion, and I'm absolutely loving it. Space Ghost number 8 out this week. Then we got the Terminator issue number 3. Great cover right there from Declan Shalvey, homaging Full Metal Jacket. We talked about that Monday night on the show over at the EXP. But the Terminator it's kind of slow, not really working for me. I like Declan's story, the idea of taking, you're taking like, you're basically putting Terminators into different periods of times. There's some overarching mission that they're trying to accomplish, I'm sure, but that's not clear yet. But it's the art. The art is holding this back. This is a book that needs to be bombastic. This is a book that needs to be kinetic, and the book feels stiff. And the book feels slow, and the book feels boring. And I think that the art is doing a disservice to the story or the potential in the story. So Terminator, we're 3 issues in. I'm not quite vibing with it. Then we got Powerpuff Girls here with issue number 6. I am vibing with Powerpuff Girls. This is great. Bubbles, her favorite cartoons, got a marathon. She has to get pulled away to have dinner or something. She wishes that her favorite cartoon character to come to life. She gets her wish. She gets more than she bargained for. Typical Powerpuff Girl. Like, this could easily be a Powerpuff Girls episode. Like, 100%. It's just right in that vein. If you're a fan of Powerpuff Girls, you're going to like that. From Oni Press and EC Comics, we have Shiver, Suspenstories, issue number 1. It's a one-shot Christmas special from the recently relaunched EC Comics. And I've been a little bit harsh on both the EC books that are being published right now, Cruel Universe and Epitaph from the Abyss. I kind of stopped reading them, but this was a one-shot, so I wanted to read it, and I liked it. You got work from Hunter Gorson, Jason Aaron, Kano, Peter Krause, Jay Stevens, David Latham, Caitlin Yarsky. Pretty solid, like, Christmas holiday-related little stories, and I thought this was better than any issue of Cruel Universe or Epitaph from the Abyss that I've read so far, and it's just a one-shot, and you know what? I love a good Christmas horror, and EC delivered it with Shiver, Suspenstories, so definitely check that one out. Then we got Skin Police here with issue number 3. This is a world in which there's some kind of disease. People can't have kids anymore, so they clone kids, but 3 out of every 4 clones that pop where they go crazy or something like that. So it's about the people, this military or this police force that's sent out there to like find them and hunt them down. And then it's about their resistance. It's intriguing. It's cool. This may have been more of the slower issue so far, but a lot of it was just kind of taking a step back and letting a slow build to the conclusion come, because I do believe it's only 4 issues. I could be wrong on that. Artwork's fine. It's decent. It's cool. I really do like this story. I like this concept. I'm excited to see how it ends. Last week, Conan, Battle of the Black Stone, issue number 4 released. This is the conclusion of the Black Stone story. And for something that was so epically built up, I do feel like it has kind of a rushed ending. I would have liked to have lingered in this a little bit longer, but the ending is still very satisfying and very cool, and this book had some really big moments, and it was cool to see this Howard verse kind of come together. But honestly, I don't mind that it was kind of truncated feeling a little bit, because this book sets up another big Howard verse thing to come, and I am all here for it. I do think Jim Zub's been doing a fantastic job with the Conan books. In fact, he's got a new one out this week, Conan the Barbarian, issue number 17. Another great issue of Conan. So now we go back to the days where Conan's running around with Belit. They go to this harbor, they go to this port to like take a little bit of R&R, a little bit of rest and relaxation, a little bit of DNF, if you know what I'm saying. Drinking and fucking, right? You know, they're doing that. But of course, things don't go so easy all the time for Conan and Belit. I like going back to that era of Conan. I like this book. The art's all right. Art's pretty solid. It's decent, but it's not, what's his name? Roberto De La Torre. I really wish he would have done this one. But I do really like this story. And like I said, Jim Zub knows what he's doing in the pages of Conan. All right, this week from Boom, we've got In Bloom, issue number 1. Michael W. Conrad, John J. Pearson. Artwork's pretty cool here. Story's interesting. It's an interesting concept. This is a world in which some people bloom, meaning a flower grows out of their neck, or a vine grows out of their eye, or their nipple or so. I don't know. It's an interesting concept that doesn't really get fully developed, and the execution is not quite there. The artwork is interesting. There's a mystery going on. It was hard for me to connect with the story. It was hard for me to connect with the characters. That could be because I'm delirious today with some kind of sickness, or it could just be because that's how it is. So I thought it was all right. Then we got Minor Arcana here with issue number 4. I thought issue number 3 of Minor Arcana was the best yet. 4 continues that momentum. We're really diving into this character, into this world, into her powers, into the characters around her, and deepening that mystery just a little bit, and just enough to really keep me excited. Jeff Lemire knows how to craft a mystery. He knows how to craft a comic book. He knows what he's doing, and I know what I'm reading, and it's Minor Arcana. So there you go. From Dark Horse, we have FML issue number 2 from Kelly Sue DeConnick and David Lopez, I believe. Yeah, David Lopez. David Lopez's artwork is amazing. The story, I don't know. I feel like what this story now is this story is Kelly Sue DeConnick kind of writing about her experiences as a mother in today's world. But I don't feel like there's anything narratively that's like super cohesive about this book. In the first issue, I was like, okay, what's the identity of this book? And even the identity that was attempting to be established in the first one, I feel like we've lost in the second one again by trying to attempt another. Like, I don't know. There's just something that's not quite clicking. I like the innovation in the book. I like the way that they're using the format of the comic book. I like all the back matter. The back matter's super cool. But honestly, this is like a Kelly Sue DeConnick book for Kelly Sue DeConnick fans. I'm not a Kelly Sue DeConnick hater, but I wouldn't call myself a Kelly Sue DeConnick fan. I'm kind of like middle of the road. So if you're middle of the road like me, I don't know if this book's going to do much for you. If you're a fan of hers, you're going to love this book. If you hate her, you're going to hate this book. But if you're in the middle like me, like, it can go either way. It's alright. It's alright. Then we got Dick Tracy, issue number 6. I believe this came out last week from Mad Cave. Just got it this week. Just got to read it. Another great issue of Dick Tracy. Grounded, brutal, tragic, violent take on Dick Tracy that I've never read the original stuff. I want to. Christmas is coming up, so I want to get me the hardcover. I got one at the shop I need to pick up anyway. But Dick Tracy, I love this book. I mean, my experience with Dick Tracy is the Warren Beatty movie and the action figures. I thought I had one of the action figures around me, but I don't. They're all in the other room right now because they've all been moved out of here. Anyway, I love Dick Tracy. This is cool. The Blank is in town, y'all, and I love the Blank. By the way, if anybody's got a Blank action figure out there you want to give away, holler at me. Why is that like one of the most expensive damn action figures out there? I'll just get a custom. All right, Distillery got the pick of the week, but there's some other offerings from Distillery this week, including Through the Boughs, a Yuletide offering. This is a solstice, Yuletide, Christmas, holiday, horror kind of thing with a bunch. It's an anthology with a bunch of different short stories, and all of the art is amazing in this book. Half of the stories are really good. Half the stories are decent. But this was really solid. I think, like, if you're looking for a horror holiday anthology, this is the way to go. Highlighted by the first story by Patrick McHale and J.K. and Jim Campbell doing the art and the lettering. And I don't know if I've ever seen Jim Campbell's artwork, but this is a really cutesy story about these goblins trying to hide from Santa Claus. You got a really cool story about the Yule Cat from Sweeney Boo. The highlight of the book for me is the James Tynion story with Jenzine Ekwall on the art. I loved that story so freaking much. That's going to be something I have to read every holiday season. And then a lot of the rest of the stories are decent. They all, like I said, have amazing artwork. The artwork on every single one of these stories soars. And there's no story is bad. No story is bad in this, to be honest with you. But half the stories are all right. Half the stories are great. But the art is fantastic all the way through. Then we've got Warm Fusion, issue number 1. This is a new one from Scott Hoffman, Alberto Ponticelli, Lee Lowridge, and Steve Wands. This one was all right. It didn't really quite fully work for me. Found it hard for me to get into this world, into these characters. It's a somewhat futuristic world. It's about a series of murders against sex workers, in particular sex workers that have like prosthetic limbs, but they're like futuristic or something, and there's like a conspiracy. It just kind of felt long, kind of felt clunky, kind of like it felt like it was trying to do some stuff that Six Fingers and the One Hand did, but not quite as well. So it didn't really work for me. Speaking of the One Hand and the Six Fingers, out this week is the trade paperback. What is it? It's $20. Holy cow. I thought this was $30. $20. And you get all 6 issues of The One Hand by Ram V. You get all 6 issues of The Six Fingers by Dan Waters. Also, let's not forget the artists, Lawrence Campbell and Sumit Kumar, Lee Lowridge, Aditya Bidikar, Tom Muller. This is just such a great package. So, The One Hand, The Six Fingers, 2 different series about the same story. One from the side of, it's a murder mystery set in a futuristic kind of world, and one book, The One Hand, is from the perspective of the investigating detective. The other book, The Six Fingers, is from the perspective of the alleged killer, right? Both books work so well together to inform the other, but they can stand on their own. But they didn't put them together on their own. They put them together in one book for $20. $20. One book. And it's in the order that you should read it, where it goes from one book into the next book, and so that everything layers upon itself and delivers a very cool reading experience. Y'all, this might be the trade paperback of the year because it's 12 issues of content from Ram V, Dan Waters, Lawrence Campbell, that is his name, right? Lawrence Campbell? Yep, and Sumit Kumar. Like, come on, y'all. $20 for 12 issues from that talent with a story that is so perfectly developed that honestly, as you get through the story, it really just keeps getting better. And by the end of it, it made me want to come back and reread it. And now I can. I would say I wish I could give it the smell of the week, but I can't smell shit. All right, so that's what we read. That's what we thought. That's what we dig in. We can do the quick recap, right? It might be the greatest deal in comics this year. 12 issues from Ron V, Dan Waters and Company for only $20. That's freaking awesome. $26.99 if you're Canadian. All right, Warm Fusion didn't work for me. Through the Boughs was the best holiday horror anthology I've read this year. Dick Tracy, super cool. The Blank is back. Anybody got that action figure? FML, if you're a Kelly fan, you're going to love it. If you don't like Kelly, you're going to hate it. If you're in the middle, I think you might be in the mid of it. Minor Arcana continues the momentum established by issue 3. In Bloom didn't quite work for me, but it's a cool enough story. Conan the Barbarian was great. Art could be a little bit better. Battle for the Black Sun last week. A kind of rushed ending, but a really exciting setup for what's to come. Jim Zub knows what he's doing. Skin Police, I'm still intrigued by that. Shiver, Suspenstories, a great holiday horror one-shot from EC. Powerpuff Girls, if you love Powerpuff Girls, you're going to love that. Terminator, kind of not working for me. Space Ghost, though, just continues to impress. Thundercats Apex was the best issue of Dynamite's Thundercats I've read so far, which might make it the best issue of Thundercats ever. Yeah, that's kind of tracks. Transformers was amazing. Doll Parts from the Lovesick universe was amazing. Deadpool Team Up, Rob Liefeld do what Rob Liefeld do. Storm, Has some really great moments, a great book. Uncanny X-Men was all right this time. Amazing Spider-Man was a little bit of a step down. Alien Paradiso was not working for me. Neither was Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Neither was Laura Kinney, Wolverine. Ultimate X-Men, though, I love how everything's coming together and really building up and intensifying. Ultimate Universe, 1 year in, Nick Fury versus the Maker's Cabal. What's that going to come out of that? Find out here. DC versus Vampires, World War V. It's waning on me just a little bit. Batman, Santa Claus, Silent Night returns. Not as good as last year's Silent Night book, but still pretty solid. Black Lightning's just not working for me. Batman and Robin, my waning interest right there. Cover of the week goes to Mark Spears yet again. Look at that. 2 covers for the same issue. I think he convinced DC to do that. I think they wanted to split that up. There's the regular cover. Green Lantern, though, still doing what Green Lanterns have been doing. It's great. Action Comics. Should it be weekly? I don't know. It's telling a great story. Superwoman special. This, anybody else, and I would probably be like, this is dumb. But Josh Williamson knows how to make it super fun and exciting. Dan Waters and Hayden Sherman on a Batman book called Dark Patterns that's set in his 3rd year with a really gnarly, cool new villain and a murder mystery. Yeah. Read that book, y'all. It's really good. But the pick of the week, The City Beneath Her Feet. The best book from Distillery I have read. Amazing artwork. A really intriguing story. Really great letters. Really great colors. Everything about this book is amazing. Like everything. Like the quality of the paper. The pacing of the book. You know, a lot of Tynion books. Tynion can be kind of verbose, right? No, not here. This just works so frickin' well. It's sexy. It's charming. It's mysterious. It's riveting. And I'm all here for it. So that's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I'm digging. What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups, sick as shit. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop. Boom.